The rain hammered down like it was trying to drown out the ache in my chest, but nothing could wash away the echo of her voice. "It's not you, Alex. It's just us." I stood there in the downpour outside our off-campus apartment, phone clutched in my numb fingers, the breakup text from Mia burning brighter than the streetlights flickering to life around me. 2 years gone, just like that, and all I could think was how I'd poured everything into loving someone who never quite fit. Then my phone buzzed again. Not her, but him. Jordan, my rock, my shadow, the one guy who'd stuck through every late-night cram session and heartbreak hangover. "Where are you?" "I'm coming." No question, no hesitation. That's when I knew. Some endings weren't endings at all, but doors cracking open to truths I'd been too scared to face. I slumped against the brick wall of the building, water soaking through my hoodie, mixing with the hot sting of tears I hadn't let fall yet. Seattle's relentless drizzle had always felt like a companion to my moods, gray and unrelenting, mirroring the fog in my head. At 22, I was supposed to have it together. Junior year at the University of Washington, majoring in environmental science because I dreamed of saving the world one polluted river at a time. But tonight, the world felt like it was saving itself from me. Mia and I had met in freshman orientation, her laugh like sunlight cutting through the clouds, and I'd convinced myself that was love. We built routines, study dates at the library, weekend hikes in the Cascades, whispered promises under starry skies. Yet lately, her touches had grown distant, her eyes wandering to the girls in our circle who moved with an ease I envied. "I'm figuring myself out," she'd said in that final call, her voice cracking. "And you deserve someone who can meet you all the way." It hit like a gut punch. She was coming out, stepping into a light I couldn't follow, and in the process, she'd dimmed mine. Footsteps splashed through puddles, and there he was, Jordan, bursting from the shadows like he'd been summoned from my darkest thoughts. His curly auburn hair was plastered to his forehead, freckles standing out against rain-flushed cheeks, that wool coat of his slung over one arm like he hadn't bothered with it on the sprint over. At 22, same as me, he carried himself with this effortless warmth that made people gravitate toward him, like he was the human equivalent of a bonfire on a cold night. We'd been inseparable since high school back in Portland, a transplant duo navigating the chaos of college life. Him in graphic design, sketching worlds on his tablet that made mine feel too small, me dragging him on eco-protests, his quiet support louder than any chant. He didn't say a word at first, just pulled me into a hug that smelled of coffee grounds and fresh sketch paper, his chin resting on my shoulder as the rain drummed around us. "She's an idiot," he murmured finally, voice muffled against my wet collar. But there was no venom in it, just that steady Jordan truth, the kind that didn't judge, only held space. I pulled back, searching his hazel eyes, deep, like forest pools after a storm, and for a split second, something flickered there, raw and unguarded. Or maybe it was my imagination, fractured by the hurt. "Come on, let's get inside before we turn into drowned rats." Our apartment was a third-floor walk-up in Capitol Hill, the heart of Seattle's queer pulse. Rainbow flags fluttering from balconies, coffee shops buzzing with open mic nights and poetry slams. We'd pooled our loans to rent it 2 years ago, turning the cramped two-bedroom into a sanctuary. Mismatched furniture from thrift dives, walls plastered with Jordan's art and my protest posters. A kitchenette where we'd burned more midnight pancakes than we cared to admit. Tonight, it felt too empty, the hum of the fridge mocking the silence as I peeled off my soaked clothes and changed into sweats. Jordan busied himself in the kitchen, the clink of mugs a familiar rhythm, brewing our ritual. Chamomile for me, black tea for him, no sugar because he liked the bitterness straight. He handed me the steaming cup, settling on the couch with legs tucked under him, that easy posture that always made me spill my guts. "Talk to me, Alex. What happened?" I sank beside him, the cushion dipping under our weight, our knees brushing in that accidental way that had become less accidental over time. Words tumbled out, the doubts I'd ignored, the way her hand lingered on our friend Lena's during game nights, the quiet admissions she'd made weeks ago about questioning her straightness. I thought I could be her safe space, you know? But she needs more than that. And now, God, Jordan, what if I'm just the guy who gets left behind? His hand found my shoulder, thumb tracing a slow circle, grounding me like he always did. "You're not left behind. You're the guy who shows up every time. For her, for me, for everyone who matters." His voice caught, just a hitch, but it hung in the air like smoke. I looked up, and there it was again. That flicker, his gaze dropping to my lips before snapping away, cheeks coloring deeper than the tea in his mug. My heart stuttered, a traitorous leap, because Jordan had always been my constant, the one platonic anchor in a sea of shifting tides. But lately, in the quiet moments, I'd caught myself wondering, what if? We talked until the rain softened to a patter, hours slipping by in confessions and laughter-tinged regrets. He shared stories from his design critique that day. A professor praising his queer-themed poster series, the one with intertwined vines symbolizing hidden loves, and I envied his quiet courage, the way he wove his identity into his work without apology. Me? I'd dated girls since high school, chalking up any stray thoughts about guys to bro curiosity, burying them under layers of denial. But with Jordan, it was different. He was the one who'd held me after my first real crush ghosted me at 16, the one who danced with me at prom when no one else would, his hand firm in mine under the disco lights. Safe. Always safe. As the clock ticked past midnight, exhaustion pulled at us, but neither moved. "I missed you today," I said suddenly, the words slipping out unbidden, born from the void Mia left. "Even though you were just across campus, it felt like you were gone." He froze, mug halfway to his lips, eyes locking on mine with an intensity that stole my breath. "I missed you too," he whispered, voice rough like gravel under tires. And in that moment, everything between us changed. The air thickened, charged with the weight of unspoken years, his hand sliding from my shoulder to cup my jaw, thumb brushing my cheekbone. Time suspended, the rain outside a distant roar, and I leaned in, heart pounding against the cage of my ribs, tasting salt and tea and the precipice of something irrevocable. Our lips met tentative at first, a question wrapped in warmth, his breath hitching as I deepened it, fingers threading through his damp curls. It was like coming home after a lifetime adrift, soft, urgent, laced with the terror of what came next. When we broke apart, foreheads pressed together, his whisper trembled against my skin. "Alex, I've wanted this for so long." The confession cracked me open, flooding light into corners I'd kept shadowed. But joy tangled with fear, because Jordan wasn't just a friend. He was my everything. And what if this broke us? Seattle's night wrapped around the apartment like a secret keeper, but dawn would come, demanding answers we weren't ready to give. End of part 1. Word count, 10:23. The morning light filtered through the blinds in hazy stripes, painting Jordan's face in gold as he stirred beside me on the couch. We'd fallen asleep tangled like that, my head on his chest, his arm a loose anchor around my waist. Innocent in sleep, revolutionary in wakefulness. My eyes snapped open to the reality of it, pulse racing as fragments of the night replayed. The kiss, his words, the way his body had fit against mine like a missing piece. Panic clawed up my throat. What had I done? Jordan, my best friend, the one person I couldn't afford to lose. Not now. Not when the world already felt like it was unraveling. I slipped free carefully, padding to the kitchen for water, the cool glass grounding my shaking hands. The city hummed below, horns blaring, the distant rumble of the light rail. Seattle awakening to another drizzly October day. At 22, I'd navigated breakups, exams, the grind of part-time barista shifts at that hole-in-the-wall cafe on Pike Street. But this was uncharted, a seismic shift in the fault lines of my life. I'd always prided myself on being the steady one, the ally who marched in pride parades with signs for equality, cheering on friends like Jordan who lived their truths openly. He'd come out junior year of high school, casual over burgers at our favorite diner, and I'd hugged him fierce, told him I loved him. As a friend, the unspoken qualifier that now mocked me. Bisexual? Gay? The labels swirled like the fog over Puget Sound, but the feeling, the pull toward him, was crystal clear. A rustle from the living room, and there he was, rubbing sleep from his eyes, curls a wild halo. "Morning," he said, voice husky, a shy smile tugging at his lips that made my stomach flip. He looked younger in the light, vulnerable, like the kid who'd sketched me as a superhero in our yearbook margins. "You okay?" I nodded too quickly, forcing a grin. "Yeah, just processing. Coffee." It was our deflection dance, honed from years of dodging heavy talks with caffeine shields. As the pot gurgled to life, he joined me, hip bumping mine at the counter, a casual touch that now sparked like live wire. We sipped in silence at first, the weight of last night hovering, until he set his mug down with a soft clink. "Alex about." "Wait." I cut him off, heart hammering. "What if we screwed this up? You're my person, Jordan. If it goes south." The words hung, raw and exposed, echoing the fear I'd buried under bravado. His eyes softened, that forest depth pulling me in. "It won't. I mean, it might be messy, but I've loved you for years. Not just as friends. The real kind." He reached for my hand, fingers interlacing, calluses from his stylus rough against my palm. "We figure it out together. Like always. Love." The word landed like a stone in still water, ripples spreading through me, warmth, terror, a fierce protectiveness I'd never named. We kissed again then, slower, exploratory, mapping the new territory of us with tentative hands and whispered laughs when elbows knocked mugs. It felt like stealing sunlight, illicit and bright, until my phone buzzed on the counter. A group chat notification from our friend's circle. Pride planning meeting tonight at the stranger offices. Who's in? Mia's bringing Lena. The name hit like ice water. Mia. Our shared history. The awkward overlaps in our social web. Jordan tensed beside me, reading the screen over my shoulder. You going? He asked, voice neutral, but I caught the undercurrent. The jealousy he wouldn't voice, the complication of exes in tight-knit queer spaces. I should, I said, though every fiber screamed to hide. Closure, right? And it's for a good cause. Expanding the youth outreach program. Pride in Seattle was more than parades. It was activism, the pulse of a city that had fought for marriage equality long before the nation caught up. Jordan nodded, but his smile didn't reach his eyes. The day blurred into routine. Classes on campus, me buried in lectures on climate modeling, him in a studio critiquing fonts for a local nonprofit's rebrand. Texts pinged between us, silly memes, a photo of his sketch inspired by last night's rain, but an undercurrent thrummed, electric and fragile. By evening, as I dressed for the meeting, jeans, a button-down with rolled sleeves, cologne swiped from his shelf, doubt gnawed. What if Mia saw the shift in me? What if the group did? Capitol Hill streets thrummed with pre-Halloween energy, jack-o'-lanterns flickering on stoops, the air crisp with fallen leaves and distant fryer grease from food trucks. The stranger's office was a converted warehouse loft, exposed brick and string lights casting a bohemian glow over folding tables laden with zines and donor flyers. Our crew spilled across the room. Lena, Mia's new flame, with her buzzed head and tattoo sleeves. Tyler, the non-binary firebrand organizing drag shows, and a dozen others, laughter mingling with the clatter of laptops. Mia spotted me first, waving from across the table, her dark hair tied back, eyes bright but guarded. Alex, glad you made it. A hug, brief and platonic, her scent, vanilla and resolve, stirring ghosts. Jordan arrived 10 minutes later, slipping in quietly, his presence a magnet. He nodded at the group, settling beside me with a brush of fingers under the table, invisible, intimate. The meeting kicked off, agendas on float permits, volunteer shifts, a new initiative for trans youth shelters. Voices rose in passion, Tyler's call for more intersectional panels drawing cheers. But tension simmered. Mia's glances flicked between Jordan and me, perceptive as ever. During a break, she cornered me by the snack table, chips crunching underfoot. You seem different, she said, tilting her head. Happier? Or is that the lighting? I laughed it off, heat rising. Just navigating, you know? Life's weird. But she wasn't buying it, her gaze sharpening as Jordan joined us, arm draping casual over my chair back. The rest of the night blurred, brainstorming sessions, laughter over bad coffee, but the undercurrent pulled taut. As we walked home later, arms linked against the chill, Jordan's voice cut the quiet. She knows. Yeah. I squeezed his hand. But it's okay. This, us, it's real. He stopped under a street lamp, pulling me close, kiss fierce and claiming. Damn right it is. Yet as we climbed the stairs to our apartment, the city's heartbeat echoing our own, I couldn't shake the whisper. Real didn't mean easy. Not when secrets had a way of spilling into the light. Whispers started the next week, subtle at first, like cracks in pavement before an earthquake. It was Tyler who voiced it over lunch at the university food court, their forks stabbing a salad with dramatic flair. So, you and Jordan spill. The vibe at the meeting? Chef's kiss. Their grin was all mischief, eyes sparkling behind wire-rimmed glasses, but the question landed heavy. We'd been careless, maybe, lingering touches in the hallway, shared glances that stretched too long. At 22, in a college town where queer love bloomed like wildflowers, discretion felt optional, but exposure? That was a vulnerability I hadn't armored for. I choked on my burrito, heat flooding my face. What? Nah, we're just close. Lame deflection, even to my ears. Jordan, across the table nursing a smoothie, shot me a look, half amused, half exasperated, before chiming in with his easy charm. Tyler's fishing for drama. Ignore them. But the seed was planted, rippling out through text chains and coffee runs. By Thursday, Lena pulled me aside after my sustainability seminar, her voice low amid the rustle of backpacks in the quad. Mia's cool with it, you know. If that's what's happening. She saw you two leaving together, all glowy. Guilt twisted sharp. Mia, who'd handed me my heart on a platter of kindness, now collateral in my awakening. It's new, I admitted, leaves crunching under our boots as we wandered toward the quad's fountain. Complicated. Jordan's been my best friend forever. What if I mess it up? Lena's laugh was kind, her arm linking mine. Love's always a mess, Alex. But from what I see, you two light up like the Ferris wheel at the fair. Own it. Her words lingered, a permission slip I clutched through afternoon labs, where petri dishes and data logs blurred into metaphors for my chaos. Cultures growing in petri worlds, unpredictable and alive. That night, Jordan and I escaped to Discovery Park, a ritual hike to shake off the week's weight. Seattle's edges softened there, urban sprawl giving way to salt marshes and driftwood-strewn beaches, the sound stretching toward the Olympics like a promise. We parked his beat-up Subaru at the trailhead, dusk painting the sky in bruised purples, backpacks slung with sandwiches and a thermos of spiked cider. The path wound through madrona trees, their red bark peeling like old inhibitions, and we fell into step, hands brushing until he laced our fingers outright. "Tyler's on to us," I said, voice light but edged. "The whole crew probably is." He squeezed my hand, grin flashing white in the fading light. "Good. Less hiding." But his eyes held shadows, memories of high school taunts in Portland's suburbs, where his coming out had cost him a spot on the soccer team, whispers following like smoke. Jordan wore his queerness like a badge now, bold lines in his art, but I knew the scars beneath. We reached the bluff overlooking the water, wind whipping salt spray against our faces, and spread a blanket amid the gorse. Cider warmed us from the inside, loosening tongues as stars pricked the velvet sky. "Remember that road trip sophomore year?" he asked, head on my knee, tracing patterns in the sand. "Yosemite, the firefall at Glacier Point. You dragged me up that trail at dawn, convinced we'd see magic." I chuckled, fingers combing his curls. And we did. That glow pouring over Half Dome, like the world was on fire, but the good kind. The memory flooded back. Us, exhausted and exhilarated, shoulders bumping as we watched nature's spectacle, my arm around him against the chill. I called it bromance then, but now? It reframed, every hug a prelude, every laugh a flirtation denied. His hand stilled on my thigh. "I almost kissed you that night. Under the stars, with the falls roaring. Chickened out because I couldn't lose you." The confession stole my breath, wind howling agreement. I pulled him up, kiss tasting of apples and regret, bodies aligning as waves crashed below, a symphony underscoring our unraveling. We made love there on the blanket, tentative then fervent, the earth cradling us as I learned the map of him. Freckles like constellations, gasps that mirrored my own. It was revelation, bodies speaking what words fumbled. Love, not lust, though desire burned bright. Afterward, wrapped in his coat against the damp, I whispered, "I love you too." Half for longer than I knew. Dawn found us hiking back, sore and sated, the city awakening below like a shared secret. But reality intruded mid-morning. A call from my mom, voice tinny over the line from our family home in Eugene, Oregon. "Alex, your Aunt June's in town, surprise visit. Dinner tonight." Aunt June, the family historian with her scrapbooks and sharp eyes, the one who'd clocked my phases since puberty. Panic flared. We'd kept our lives compartmentalized, holidays polite, queerness a topic danced around. Jordan overheard, brow furrowing as I hung up. "Tell her I'm coming. As you're, whatever this is." His chin lifted, defiant, but I saw the nerves flickering. The drive south was quiet. Five unspooling under tires slick with mist, evergreens blurring past. We stopped at a roadside diner for pie, cherry for him, pecan for me, trading stories to ease the knot in my gut. What if she freaks? I muttered, fork scraping plate. Then we handle it. Together. His foot nudged mine under the table, anchor steady. Aunt June's hotel was off the interstate, a mid-century relic with neon signs and vinyl booths. She enveloped me in lavender-scented hugs, her silver-streaked bob impeccable, eyes twinkling as she sized up Jordan. "And who's this handsome devil? Your roommate or best friend?" I started, but Jordan cut in smooth. "Boyfriend, actually. Recent upgrade." The word hung, bold and irrevocable, as her eyebrows arched. Dinner unfolded in layers, small talk over Cobb salads, her tales of genealogy hunts in dusty archives, our deflections about classes and Seattle rain. But as plates cleared, she leaned in, voice soft. "I've known since you were 15, Alex. The way you looked at that boy in the school play. It's okay to be you." Tears pricked, validation from the woman who'd taught me empathy through stories of hidden loves in our family tree. Great Uncle Elias, the bachelor artist in 1920 Chicago. Relief crashed like waves, but as we drove back north, Jordan's hand in mine, a new storm brewed. "A text from Mia, heard about you too. Happy for you. But heads up, Tyler's ex is stirring shit online. Watch your backs." The queer scene's underbelly, jealousy, rumors, reminding us. Love wasn't just ours to claim. It was a public act, fraught with watchers. That night, back in our apartment, we scrolled anonymous campus forums, hearts sinking at veiled posts, saw the straight boy going rainbow, trendy or thirsty. Laughter turned bitter, Jordan's jaw tight. Ignore it, I said, pulling him close. But sleep evaded, the city's lights mocking our fragile bubble. The rumors metastasized like unchecked algae in a warming lake. My environmentalist brain couldn't help the metaphor. By midterms, they slithered into every corner. Sidelong glances in the dining hall, whispers trailing us down Rainier Avenue like exhaust fumes. Tyler's ex, Riley, a brooding photographer with a grudge and a viral Instagram, had posted cryptic stories, grainy shots of us at the park, captioned friendship goals or facade. Likes piled up, comments a cesspool of speculation. Classic bi-curious phase. Jordan deserves better than a rebound. Each barb landed like hooks in flesh, drawing blood I pretended not to feel. I threw myself into studies. Lab reports on Pacific salmon runs blurring with the current in my veins. Restless, directionless. Jordan fared better on the surface, channeling it into art. A digital series of fractured mirrors reflecting intertwined silhouettes, exhibited at a campus gallery pop-up. It's catharsis, he said one evening. Paint smudged on his cheek as we crashed on the floor amid drop cloths. But I saw the toll, the way his laughs rang hollow, sketches piling up unfinished. At 22, we were old enough to know resilience, young enough to bruise easy. The breaking point came during a protest rally downtown, one of those electric Seattle Saturdays where climate activists clogged the streets with banners and chants. I'd organized the student contingent, megaphone in hand outside City Hall, Jordan beside me snapping photos for the cause. The air crackled, cop whistles, diesel idling, voices unified against fossil fuel subsidies. Mia and Lena marched with us, a tentative truce forming in shared fury, her nod to me laced with solidarity. Proud of you, she mouthed over the din, and it mended something frayed. But Riley was there too, embedded with a countergroup, camera slung like a weapon. As the crowd surged, a scuffle erupted, pushback from oil lobby plants, and in the chaos, Riley's lens zeroed on us. I shoved Jordan behind a barricade, arm shielding him from a flung water bottle, our eyes locking in that split-second terror. Stay close, I yelled, heart thundering not from the fray, but from the fierce need to protect him. The rally dispersed in waves, adrenaline crashing as we retreated to a nearby brewpub, bodies humming. Over IPAs in a corner booth, sticky with spilled foam, the dam broke. This shit with Riley, it's poisoning us, Jordan said, voice low, fingers drumming the table like a trapped pulse. I can't keep pretending it's fine. The looks, the posts. It makes me feel like we're some experiment. Guilt surged, hot and acidic. It's my fault. I'm the one who was blind, dragging you into this half-assed coming out. I reached for him, but he pulled back, eyes stormy. No, it's the world, Alex. Reminding us we're not invisible targets. He raked a hand through his curls, exhale ragged. I love you, God, so much, but if it's tearing us apart already. The unspoken thread hung, heavier than the pub's hoppy haze. We walked home in strained silence, Pioneer Square's historic bricks echoing our footsteps, fairy horns moaning from the waterfront. The apartment felt claustrophobic, walls closing in as we circled each other, me crashing on the couch, him retreating to his room with the door ajar, a white flag of sorts. Sleep was fitful, dreams tangled with rally chaos and Riley's sneer, waking to gray dawn and the scent of brewing coffee. Jordan sat at the kitchen table, sketchpad open to a half-formed portrait of us, my face fierce, his soft, pencil hovering. Couldn't sleep, he admitted as I poured a mug. Kept thinking about Yosemite again. That firefall. How everything burns bright before it changes. I slid into the chair beside him, knee pressing his. We don't have to burn out. Let's fight this, together. Talk to Riley, shut down the noise. Hope flickered, tentative, as he met my gaze. By noon, we were at a neutral spot, California Anderson Park, the queer heart of Capitol Hill, joggers circling the lake under overcast skies. Riley lounged on a bench, camera bag at feet, expression mulish when we approached. What? Fan mail, he snarked, but Jordan cut through, voice steady. This ends. The posts, the stalking, it's harassment. We're filing a report if it doesn't stop. I flanked him, silent support, watching Riley's bravado crack under the weight of our united front. He scoffed, but eyes darted. Just calling out fakes. Jordan knows me. We dated, remember? He deserves real. Real like stalking your ex's boyfriend. I shot back, heat rising. Grow up, Riley. Move on. The confrontation diffused in mutters, Riley slinking away with a final glare, but the victory tasted pyrrhic. As we sat by the water, ducks quacking for crumbs, Jordan leaned into me, head on shoulder. That was badass. Us against the bullshit. Laughter bubbled, real and relieving, as we fed the birds, fingers sticky with bread. But deeper currents stirred. That night, over takeout pad thai on the fire escape, overlooking twinkling lights, I broached the unspoken. What are we, Jordan? Labels help or hurt? He twirled noodles thoughtfully. Boyfriends. Partners. Us, whatever name fits. But yeah, bi for you, I think. Gay for me. Doesn't change the core. His smile warmed, chasing shadows, and we sealed it with a kiss, spicy and sweet. Yet peace was fleeting. Midweek, a campus email blast. Guest speaker on queer allyship. Join us. Irony bit as I volunteered to moderate, Jordan in the front row sketching. The event packed the auditorium, diverse faces from freshmen to faculty. The speaker, a trans activist from San Francisco, dishing wisdom on intersectionality. It turned personal. A student asked about navigating bi-erasure in long-term relationships, and my throat tightened, words spilling unscripted. It's scary, stepping from friendship to more. But worth it, for the person who sees all of you. Applause thrummed, Jordan's proud gaze from the seats a beacon. Post-event, we mingled, hands brushing in the crowd, until Mia pulled us into a side room, eyes serious. Riley's backing off, Lena talked sense into him. But watch the holidays. Family drama, incoming. She was right. Thanksgiving loomed, my parents invite a polite grenade. Bring Jordan. Room for one more. Extended family gathering in Eugene, cousins, aunts, the works. Jordan's folks, progressive Portlanders, were easy mine. Blue-collar holdouts, dad's jokes skirting edges of discomfort. Prep became our rebellion. Baking pies with rainbow crusts, role-playing awkward convos over wine. Laughter fortified us, but nerves jangled as the Amtrak chugged south, Willamette Valley unfolding in amber fields. The house smelled of turkey and pine, siblings tumbling in chaos. Dinner prayers invoked gratitude, but under the table, Jordan's hand in mine anchored the storm. Dad's toast veered. To family, blood, and chosen. Eyes on us, probing. I squeezed Jordan's fingers, heart and throat. To that, I echoed, and the table hushed, then erupted in clinks. Acceptance, tentative, but there. Yet as pie circulated, cousin Mark, beer loose, muttered, so you too. Rooming fancy now. Tension spiked, forks pausing, but Aunt June jumped in, her scrapbook tales of Elias diffusing it with history's grace. Relief washed, but the undercurrent lingered. Acceptance earned, not given. Back on the train that night, Jordan's head on my lap, I whispered, we survived. His sleepy smile, round one. Seattle welcomed us with rain, but the city's embrace felt wider, our love a little less besieged. Winter clamped down on Seattle like a vice, December's chill seeping through coat collars and resolve alike. Holiday lights strung across Pike Place twinkled against perpetual dusk, market stalls hawking chestnuts and wreaths, but the festive hum couldn't drown the growing discord between Jordan and me. It started small, snapped words over forgotten laundry, silences stretching during movie nights where rom-coms hit too close. The rumors had quieted, Riley's shadow receded, but success bred its own poison, expectations. At 22, we'd tumbled into love like novices, all passion and no playbook, and the cracks were showing. It crystallized over finals week, caffeine-fueled haze of all-nighters in the library's fluorescent glow. I'd promised to quiz him on design theory, but a last-minute group project on wetland restoration swallowed me whole. Spreadsheets, citations, a presentation due at dawn. Jordan texted at midnight. Where are you? Need you. Guilt gnawed as I replied soon. Promise. But soon bled into 3 a.m., then sunrise, crashing home to find him asleep on the couch, sketchpad abandoned mid-stroke. He woke groggy, hurt etching lines around his eyes. You bailed. Again. Voice quiet, but the accusation stung like frostbite. I'm sorry, deadlines, you know how it is. Defensive, I knew, but exhaustion frayed my edges. Breakfast devolved into barbs, my eco-savior complex versus his artistic indulgence. Years of unspoken resentments bubbling up. You think this is easy for me? He shot back, gesturing at the apartment's chaos. My books piled on his drafting table, takeout containers from my late shifts. I'm out here, vulnerable, and you're half in, still processing like it's a phase. The words eviscerated, truth wrapped in pain. That's not fair. I'm trying. Trying isn't enough when it feels like I'm alone in this. He stormed to his room, door clicking shut, not slammed, but final. I stood there, coffee cooling in my hands, the weight of it crushing. Love wasn't just sparks. It was maintenance, the daily grind of compromise. Days blurred in avoidance, separate study spots, polite notes on the fridge. Christmas approached, a double-edged sword. His family's cozy Portland gathering versus my Eugene redux. We drove south separately, me on the train with a playlist of indie folk to drown regrets, him carpooling with friends. Portland welcomed me like an old flame. Jordan's mom enveloping me in hugs scented with gingerbread, his dad clapping my back with stories of their 90s activism. The house was a rainbow riot. Menorah beside the tree, queer carols belted off-key. But Jordan and I orbited warily, shared chores, stolen glances across the table, tension coiling tighter. Eve's dinner cracked it open. Amid lax and lights, his sister Ellie, home from Reed College, pulled me aside in the kitchen, flour-dusted apron askew. "What's with you two?" He mopes like a kicked puppy. Her bluntness, inherited from their mom, pried loose my floodgates. "We're fighting. Stupid stuff, but I'm scared it's more. What if I'm not enough?" She snorted, handing me a menorah candle. "Love's not a scorecard, Alex. It's showing up when it hurts." Wisdom from a 19-year-old, but it pierced, echoing Lena's words months back. Reconciliation sparked post-midnight, snow dusting Portland's streets like powdered sugar. We wandered the neighborhood, bundled in scarves, breath fogging in the cold. "I'm sorry," I started, halting under a lamppost haloed in garland. "For pulling away. You're not a phase, you're my future, if you'll have me." He stopped, eyes searching mine, flakes catching in his lashes. "I miss us. The easy parts, the hard ones too." His hand found mine, cold fingers warming in tandem. "Let's fix it. Therapy, maybe? Couples counseling. There's a queer center downtown." Relief bloomed, tentative. "Yeah, and date nights. Real ones." Laughter cracked the ice, and we kissed under the snow, slow and reaffirming, the city a silent witness. New Year's brought tentative mending. Back in Seattle, we joined a support group at the LGBTQ Center on Broadway, circle of chairs, shared stories of relational whiplash. Hearing others' navigations normalized ours, Jordan's arm around me a quiet vow. But fate tested further. January's gale force winds knocked out power citywide, trapping us in candlelit limbo. No distractions, just us. Board games by flashlight, confessions over canned soup heated on a camp stove. One storm-lashed night, as thunder rattled windows, vulnerability peaked. "I never told you," I admitted, huddled under blankets on the floor, his head in my lap. "About the dreams. Even before Mia, it was you." Faceless at first, then clear. Waking up guilty, like I was betraying our friendship. He shifted, propping on elbow, gaze intense. I journaled it. Pages of what-if since high school. Burned them when I thought you'd never see me that way. Laughter mingled with tears, catharsis in the dark. We made love then, urgent and tender, storms outside mirroring the one we'd weathered within, bodies a language of amends. Spring teased early, cherry blossoms unfurling along the waterfront, but new shadows loomed, graduation whispers. At 22, post-college loomed, job hunts, relocations. Jordan landed an internship at a Seattle design firm, urban roots deep. I scored an offer with a Portland nonprofit, salmon conservation calling me south. Distance, the ultimate saboteur. Panic set in over coffee one blooming morning, Lake Union glittering beyond. "What if this pulls us apart?" I voiced, stirring sugar endlessly. He covered my hand. "Then we fight it. Weekends, visits. Hell, I'll commute if I have to." Resolve in his eyes, but doubt lingered, a quiet undercurrent. The decision crystallized at a farewell party for a mutual friend heading to grad school in Boston, rooftop bash in Belltown, skyline aglow. Amid toasts and tears, Mia pulled me aside, wind tousling her hair. "Don't let fear win. You too?" Endgame material. Her blessing, hard won, steadied me. As fireworks popped for no reason but joy, Jordan and I slipped away to the edge, city sprawled below. "Marry me," he murmured, not a proposal but a promise, ringless finger tracing mine. "Someday, wherever life takes us." Tears blurred the lights. Yes, all in. The kiss sealed it, fierce against the night, love a bridge over uncertainties. Yet as summer beckoned, a final trial brewed. My dad's health scare, a mild heart episode, pulling me home for weeks. Jordan followed after his internship wrapped, the Willamette Valley a green respite. Nursing dad through recovery, we carved space. Hikes in the foothills, quiet evenings with mom's quilts. His acceptance deepened, stories of his own college curiosities surfacing over checkers. "You remind me of him, Elias," Dad grunted one night, nodding at a faded photo. Lived true, against the odds. Jordan's presence wove into the fabric, mending family threads. But in stolen moments by the river, he confessed fears. What if Portland changes us? Roots pulling different ways. Then we replant together. I vowed, water rushing ascent. Summer's end returned us north, stronger, but the horizon shimmered with unknowns, jobs, cities, the long arc of commitment. Autumn leaves carpeted Seattle's paths in fiery protest against summer's end, mirroring the blaze in my chest as Jordan and I navigated our post-grad limbo. At 23 now, time slipping like sand through clenched fists, we'd signed leases. Me in Portland for the nonprofit gig, him staying put for the design firm. 80 miles apart, a commute doable by train or car, but the math of absence loomed large. Weekends became sacraments, Friday ferries across the Sound, lazy Sundays tangled in his sheets, the rhythm of fragile truce with distance. Early days hummed with novelty. My cubicle overlooking the Columbia, mapping restoration sites. His studio buzzing with client pitches, sketches evolving into billboards for local pride events. Texts bridged gaps. Good morning sunrises, midnight vents, but cracks spiderwebbed. A canceled visit due to my fieldwork in the gorge, his late-night deadline crunch. Resentment simmered, unspoken. The fracture widened in October, harvest moon fat over the valley. I'd driven up for a gallery opening. Jordan's solo show, Refractions, a series exploring queer invisibility through prismatic glass installations. The space, a converted warehouse in Fremont, pulsed with patrons, art critics in tweed, friends toasting with Pinot. His pieces glowed, shards catching light to cast rainbow spectrums on walls, silhouettes locked in eternal almost touches. Pride swelled as I watched him mingle, charismatic in button-down and slacks, but envy nipped when a flirty curator lingered too long, hand on his arm. Post-reception, back at his apartment, our old haunt sublet to a classmate. We uncorked champagne, bubbles fizzing like suppressed words. She was networking, he said, reading my silence as we clinked glasses on the fire escape, city lights winking below. I know. Just missed you today. Feels like we're orbiting, not connecting. Honesty, raw as the chill air. His brow furrowed, setting the flute down. You're the one who chose Portland, Alex. The job, the cause, it's your dream. Stung, I fired back. And Seattle's yours? We're building lives, but together means more than visits. The argument escalated, voices rising over the hum of traffic, accusations of neglect, fears of fading. Maybe we rushed this, he whispered finally, defeated. Love from afar is different. The words gutted me, sleep elusive on his couch, dawn finding us civil, but strained. I drove home in fog-shrouded silence, radio droning indie tracks that twisted the knife. Portland welcomed with rain-slick streets, my sublet a sterile box compared to our shared chaos. Work swallowed me, site surveys in estacada, data dives on fish passages, but evenings echoed empty, Jordan's texts polite, sparse. November's chill deepened the rift. Thanksgiving split us, me with family, him at his parents'. Video calls bridged, but screens flattened intimacy, pixels no substitute for touch. Despair crested during a solo hike in the Silver Falls, waterfalls thundering like my pulse, mist cloaking doubts. Is this sustainable? The question looped, echoing Yosemite's firefall, bright, then gone. Crisis peaked mid-month, a call from Jordan, voice cracking over static. It's Grandma's stroke. I'm in Portland, at the hospital. Heart lurching, I raced across town, weaving through downpour. The waiting room smelled of antiseptic and worry, his family huddled. Mom pacing, Dad staring at tile. Jordan looked wrecked, curls unkempt, eyes red-rimmed as he pulled me into a fierce hug. She asked for you. Before. Said you were good for me. We sat vigil through the night, hands clasped under fluorescent hum, sharing stories of her. Fierce Irish matriarch who'd baked scones for his coming out, toasted with whiskey. She saw us before we did. He murmured, head on my shoulder. Dawn brought stability. Grandma stabilizing, transferred to rehab, but the scare reframed us. In the cafeteria over watery coffee, he gripped my hand. I can't do distance without you. Not like this. Me neither. Tears pricked, clarity sharp. Let's fix it. One of us moves. Debate ensued over weeks, his job flexible, mine tied to field sites. Compromise emerged. Hybrid for me, remote days, weekend shuttles. But deeper healing required excavation. We booked sessions with that counselor from spring, virtual at first, then in person at a cozy office overlooking the Willamette. Therapy peeled layers, my fear of abandonment, rooted in Mia's exit, his anxiety from early rejections, manifesting as withdrawal. Communications our bridge, the therapist urged, homework and active listening. Dates recommenced, picnics in Forest Park, art walks in the Pearl District, intentional, eyes locked beyond distractions. Holiday lights twinkled anew by December, our rift mended into something resilient. New Year's, we rang in at a Portland queer bar, bass thumping as we danced, bodies synced in sweat-slick joy. To us, he toasted at midnight, kiss tasting of champagne and future. No more orbits. Spring bloomed with momentum. My promotion to project lead, Jordan's firm expanding, collaborations brewing. A joint pitch for eco-art installations along the riverfront. Pride season amplified it. We volunteered at the festival, manning a booth on sustainable queer spaces, rainbow flags snapping in breeze. Mia and Lena joined. The circle hole, toast to growth over festival falafel. Yet trials lingered. Summer's heat wave tested resolve. A week apart during my backcountry training, wildfires choking skies with smoke. Texts turned poetic. Miss your voice like rain in drought. Absence sharpening presence. Reunion in Seattle was electric. Airport embrace. Then his apartment, bodies reuniting with grateful urgency. Fall circled back, leaves turning as we planned a road trip. Echo of Yosemite, but Boulder, Crater Lake, then coastal drives to Redwoods. The blue expanse mirrored our depths, tint pitched under stars. Around the fire, embers dancing, Jordan pulled a small box from his pack. A silver band, etched with vines. Not yet, but soon. Marry me, Alex. Make the distance myth. Tears blurred constellations. Yes, choked out, slipping the ring on. Cool metal warming to promise. We made love under the vastness. Earth and sky witnesses to vows etched in whispers. Back home, life wove tighter. Shared calendar, joint bank for trips, dreams merging. Buying a fixer-upper straddling borders. Kids someday via surrogacy. A life green and gay and unapologetic. Challenges loomed. Family expansions, career pivots. But foundation solid. Love the mortar. One crisp evening, atop Portland's West Hills, city lights sprawling like firefall, Jordan's arm around me. I knew. We'd changed, grown, endured. Not perfect, but profoundly ours. The ring on my finger caught the summer sun like a captured spark, a quiet talisman against the uncertainties of our unfolding life. At 24, Jordan and I had traded the raw edges of new love for the textured weave of commitment. Wedding plans sketched in margins of work notes. Venue hunts through Oregon's wine country barns. Guest lists blending our worlds. Portland had become home base, my job's flexibility allowing a commute to Seattle twice weekly, his designs now featuring in national campaigns that kept him rooted north. Distance, once a chasm, now a bridge we crossed with ease, laden with inside jokes and hurried kisses in train stations. But joy's shadow is often doubt, and ours crept in autumn's guise. A letter from the nonprofit. Reorganization whispers threatening my role. Layoffs loomed, funding cuts from federal shifts under a new administration, climate initiatives deprioritized for tax breaks. Nights, I'd pace our cozy bungalow on the east side. Jordan's latest conquest, a Victorian with creaky floors and a garden we'd planted together. Mind racing through resumes. What ifs? It's not fair. I'd mutter, weeding tomatoes gone leggy in the chill. All this work for what? Jordan would join me, dirt under nails, pulling me into his lap on the porch swing. Then pivot. We adapt, like the vines you love. His optimism, tempered by his own brushes with freelance droughts, steadied me. We brainstormed over dinners. Adjunct teaching at PSU, consulting for indigenous land trusts. Action quelled fear. Interviews landed. A hybrid position emerging at a Eugene cooperative, closer to family. A step toward our dream homestead. Yet external storms gathered fiercer. Winter brought national headlines. Rollback of protections, protests erupting from D.C. to our streets. We marched in Portland, arm in arm amid tear gas canisters and chants. Jordan's camera documenting the fury. Images later syndicated, his voice amplifying the marginalized. One rally turned violent, a rogue element clashing with police. I shielded a young trans teen from a baton swing, adrenaline surging as Jordan yanked me back, our eyes locking in shared terror. Bruised but unbroken, we retreated to a safe house cafe, stitching wounds with herbal tea and hushed vows. We can't hide, he said, bandaging my knuckles. But we protect each other. The scare deepened resolve. Wedding date set for June. Solstice sun blessing our union. Planning infused purpose. Invitations hand-stamped with vine motifs. Vows co-written in therapy sessions. Promises of equity, growth, unyielding support. Mia officiated. Her journey from ex to chosen family a testament to grace. Lena planned the playlist. Tyler curated floral explosions in wildflower hues. Spring rehearsals brought levity. Stumbles through dances in the living room. Laughter echoing off walls we'd painted sage green. But a curveball landed. Jordan's fertility clinic consult. Our talks of family crystallizing into steps. Surrogacy research, donor matches, exhilarating, terrifying. Two dads, he mused one night. Head on my chest post-love, heartbeat sinking. Teaching them to sketch salmon streams, march for justice. Emotion choked me. Legacy, once abstract, now tangible. And love without limits. I added, kissing his temple. Ceremony day dawned golden. Willamette Valley vineyards lush under cerulean skies. Barn doors flung wide. Guests in sundresses and slacks milling amid hay bales and lanterns. I waited at the altar, makeshift arch of woven branches, heart thumping as strings swelled. Jordan appeared, path lined with petals, curls tamed but eyes wild with love, arm linked with his mom's. Vows exchanged trembled with truth. In tempests and calm, I choose you. Holy, daily. Ring slid on, sealing eternity. Kiss erupted cheers, confetti swirling like blessings. Reception pulsed, tables groaning with farm-to-table feasts, dances under strung lights, toasts weaving our story, from rainy confessions to resilient union. Aunt June gifted a locket with Elias's photo. Dad, misty-eyed, pulled Jordan into a bear hug. Welcome, son. Honeymoon whisked us to the San Juan Islands. Ferry to Orcas, cabin overlooking coves where Orcas breached at dawn. Days blurred in kayaks and cliffside trails, nights in tangled sheets, bodies mapping deepened intimacies. This is us, he whispered one sunset, paintbrush in hand sketching the horizon. Us, entwined against the sea. Forever edited, never erased. Return thrust us into married rhythm. Dual commutes smoothed by podcasts of queer lit. Home a sanctuary of rituals. Sunday suppers with Mia's crew. Gallery crawls hand in hand. Challenges persisted. My Eugene rolled demanding overnights. His firm weathering a client scandal, but tools honed. Weekly check-ins. Date jars with prompts for wonder. A year in, surprise bloomed. Surrogacy match. Our embryo nestling successfully. Ultrasounds became pilgrimages. Tiny heartbeats echoing our own first sparks. Fatherhood loomed, daunting and divine. Nursery painted in soft blues. Bookshelves stocked with tales of diverse heroes. Yet the arc bent toward light. At 25, we stood on our porch one equinox eve, Jordan's head on my shoulder, valley mist rising. From that rainy night, he murmured, to this, changed everything. I turned, kissing him slow, and we'd do it again. Every moment. The stars wheeled above, witnesses to a love that had weathered storms. Karmic, chosen, eternally ours. In the quiet, value crystallized. Not perfection, but perseverance. Not ease, but empathy. We'd built a world where vulnerability was strength, where two boys missed each became a lifetime's map. And in that enduring truth, everything, truly, had changed for the better.